What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis, and I produce content for homeowners and up-and-coming heating and air technicians, teaching you everything you need to know about heating and air. And on today's service call, what we're going to do is replacing a heat exchanger on a Lennox gas pack. We found a crack on this gas pack about a week ago. The heat exchanger finally came in, so we're replacing that package unit. I've never done one on this style Lennox unit, so we'll be learning this together. So if you want to see how I do it, stay there, and I'll see you at the furnace. Alright, this is the unit that we're going to be taking the heat exchanger out on. What I've done is already turned the power off at the disconnect box. And what are the first things that we're going to have to do, since I've never done one of these heat exchangers before? Let's go ahead and remove the top. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to take out all of the components and things like that. So let's go ahead and start taking the top off, and we'll see what needs to be done. Okay, we got the top up. We've got it propped up with our panel from here. So let's take a look at this thing and see how this heat exchanger is in here. Looks like the heat exchanger is inside of this cover, which usually when a heat exchanger does that, it means it's got to slide out the front. We've got screws down the side. That's got to be taken out. We have screws on the bottom. What we're probably going to have to do first off is to remove this gas valve. We've got our gas turn off here. Turn the gas off, and then we've got a union here that we'll take out. We'll take out this gas valve. So let's go ahead and remove the gas valve and see what else we got to take apart. Okay, we got the gas valve, the gas pipe loose away from the gas valve. Now what we need to see is what we need to take off from here. I know there's two screws here on the bottom. That's probably going to come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start removing screws to where it looks like we can pull this heat exchanger out and see if we can figure out how this thing comes out of this here. It shouldn't be too hard, but that's the thing about doing a heat exchanger. You got to find all the screws that hold it in. Once you find those screws, it's pretty much easy from that point. So with this being a heat exchanger I've never done, I've got to hunt down all the screws that hold this thing in and see where they are. I'll see you back when I get some of these screws out. I'll show you where they are, and we'll get to pulling this heat exchanger out. Okay, I ended up having to pull this door off. Now we had to unloosen the burners, and we took the gas line off, so we go take this, move it out of the way. We got our wires that are on here. We want to take our wires off our float switch, off our flame sensor. We'll take it off of our gas valve as well. And that way we can just set this over to the side. We're going to leave our line for our spark igniter up right now, just until we can figure out what else needs to be taken loose. Sure, we've got some screws down here. We'll go ahead and take those out. Do I know that they need to be taken out? No, I don't. But I'm sure with it sliding out, that's connecting onto something. So we'll go ahead and remove those. You've had some screws on the bottom. We're going to take those out, and we're going to continue removing parts until we can get this heat exchanger to slide out. Alright, so I went and looked at the old heat exchanger, and it seems like this part in the back, this part here, and this part is the face plate of the heat exchanger. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to remove this control panel. We're going to have to take the inducer motor assembly off. We're going to have to remove that limit switch up there. And if I'm right, we're going to have to take this out and slide it back through. And if I'm right, from that point, if we get all the screws out, we can take that, wiggle it, get it loose, and we can pull it straight out of this furnace. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start working on getting this out, our inducer motor out, and see if we can get this heat exchanger loose. Okay guys, I've got everything off the front. We got the inducer motor off. We got our circuit board compartment, everything. We just able to lay it over to the back. So now what we'll do is take out the rest of our screws. I think we have 3 left. Got one here, one here, and one here. Now these are go into our blower motor. So that's we can pull that back through. Now this right here, got some wires going here. I don't really know what we're going to do with that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and start trying to loosen this thing up just a little bit. What I end up doing to loosen the heat exchanger up from the bottom. I usually just take a screwdriver, put it in here, and you start moving it back. You see how it starts getting loose on the bottom. I'll start moving it, and I'm going to start moving this heat exchanger and see if we can get some play in it. And then when I figure out what we're going to do about those wires, I'll let you know. Okay guys, these wires that we had that were going through the front of the heat exchanger ended up being our compressor wiring. What I did is I just unhooked it from the compressor, run it back up through, and we can put that over the top here. The other lines were our wires for our condensing fan motor. What I did is I just took those off of the circuit board, and what I can do is just run these down through here. It's pretty easy. It's only 3 wires to wire up, so it's pretty easy to know where they go. And if you get confused, you can always look on your wiring diagram. It'll tell you where to go. So I'm pretty sure that our heat exchanger is loose. Like I say, these are the motors. These are the wires to our blower motor. And as you can see, it's starting to free up. This thing should come straight out. Now what I did find is I had 3 screws right here on the side that were holding that in. We had to take that off. So let's see if we can get this thing pulled out. Okay guys, what I found, if you look down here, you got 2 screws here that have to be loosened up. If you go around this side, so you've got 2 screws there. It's got a bracket in the back of that heat exchanger. Those 4 need to be taken out for this heat exchanger to go. So I'm going to remove those. Now let's see if we can pull this heat exchanger out. And look at there. Heat exchanger comes out pretty easily. Take a look. And just so you guys see, it's got a crack right here. See how when we check heat exchangers, especially on these tube heat exchangers, you want to check all down these seams. Let me get a screwdriver. All down these seams are cracked. All you gotta do is take a screwdriver. I'm not using any force at all. This thing is just cracked. See that big crack here? All down these seams. This heat exchanger is just junk. So that's the reason why. And when you start getting a crack like this, what it'll do is it'll start tripping your rollout switch to let you know there's a problem. And like I say, this heat exchanger was in that cabinet, so you really hard to check, but just always know when your rollout switch starts tripping, it signals you that you're having a problem, and most of the time it's a heat exchanger problem. And you see, even down here on these seams, this thing is just rusted through. So yeah, this heat exchanger had a pretty bad problem. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and carry this down, go to get our new heat exchanger, and start the whole process in reverse. So hope it goes a little bit smoother putting it back together. Now look at the freaking box they sent this heat exchanger in. This is big enough for me and my son to have a freaking fort made out of it. But here's our new heat exchanger here. And we're going to take this out. Get you a look at it. And we'll carry this back into the furnace. Okay, I've got the new heat exchanger back in. And basically what I did is I just slid it right in that little opening. Now what I want to do is I want to get the heat exchanger to the point stable so I can start putting my stuff back on. So what I did is I went ahead and put these 3 screws in the side. I put these screws right here that screw onto the back, and then I'm going to put these screws into the bottom. That way it'll hold the heat exchanger stable. I can start putting back on my inducer motor assembly, my circuit board, and then my burner compartment. So we're going to start doing that, and that should be about it. Alright guys, I've got everything practically back in. I've put my wires back on my burner rack. I've got my burners back in. I've got my control panel back in. All the wires that we took off, I've got those back on. Everything's pretty tight. Now all I've got to do is start putting my gas line back on. Now make sure when you do this, when you put your gas fittings back on, you put pipe dope on your fittings you take off. That way you make sure you don't have any gas leaks. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. Put our front panels back on. I'm going to screw the top down, and then we'll start the system up. Alright guys, we got everything back together. I've got the furnace turned thermostat to heat. As we can see, our flames are on, everything's working. Now anytime you do a heat exchanger, especially on a gas package unit, a lot of times they get shipped with like this oil coating. So you always need to let the homeowner know that when you first start it up, you may be getting some smoke coming out of the vents. You may get an odd smell or something like that. That'll burn off very quickly. But the thing is, always do that, because a lot of times you start up, they'll think the unit's on fire or whatever. Could even set off the smoke detectors in the house. So just always make sure you do that. But this heat exchanger is pretty easy. It's just a point of finding all the screws that you need to take out, put back in. And once you take it out, then basically you do that process in reverse, and you know where everything goes. So pretty easy heat exchanger. Like I say, we had to remove the control panel, all of this, remove the top, and the heat exchanger just slid out, slid back in. But I tell you, this is a good one to see, especially on these gas packs, the tubular style heat exchangers, how they rust out, where you get the rust holes at. And this one was rusted pretty bad in pretty much each one of the cells. So guys, we got the heat exchanger done. I think we did it. I think about an hour and a half it took to do this whole heat exchanger. So we got it back up and going, and I think this customer will be happy. So guys, I appreciate you tuning back in. I appreciate you watching, and I did hope you learned something. Because like I say, I've not done this heat exchanger before either. This is my first time, so we kind of learned together. But if you learned something, please hit that like and subscribe button. It lets me know that you guys appreciate what I'm doing. Because I tell you, I'm working hard here, trying to show this stuff to you. So I appreciate that very much. And as always, I will see you on that next service call. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.